Is Councillor Mangaba? We'll be starting now. Good morning, councillors. We are attending this morning our special council meeting on the 7th of April. I would like us to, the attendance register is circulating. While it is circulating, can we observe our 1 minute of silence to open our proceedings with prayer in our different religions, starting now. Thank you. The attendance register, I believe everybody have signed the attendance register. It's still moving. On point 3, we move on. Point 4, in the order of business, the declaration of interest. I believe none. Point 5, the confirmation of minutes for previous meetings. Minutes of the ordinary council meeting dated 31st March 2022 at the ordinary council of 28.
Mr. Speaker, we will be circulating the minutes at the ordinary council meeting.
Yes, that's what I... Thank you, Ms. Wilderman. On that, we then go to point 6, statements and communication by the Executive Mayor, 6.1. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. First, I'd like to welcome Mr. Velelo Mamani back to Bitou. He worked for Bitou a number of years ago and he's now returned as Municipal Manager. And we look forward to working with you in the next years ahead. And then also there's congratulations due to our engineering department, with in particular the wastewater treatment plants in Gansefallei and also in Kurland in maintaining the green drop status. I'll just let Mr. Roeder give an explanation of how important this is to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Speaker.
Mr. Roeder, recognized.
Okay, so this the Department of Water and Sanitation tries to award or re-award and also award excellence to municipalities that operate their plants to a higher standard that's normal. And that's when you get a green drop certification or blue drop certification. So it's not only about the quality, because what green drop talks to is the sewer water or what we call sanitation. And there's a whole pipeline of what you do with sewer water from the moment you pull the chain, and there's a whole process of cleaning it and then putting it into the sea or back into nature. And then the blue drop is also a whole process of getting raw water from your rivers and then cleaning it to a drinking standards. So what these two standards are looking at is not only the quality of the effluent into the estuaries of the sea, but also the quality. It also looks at, is your staff competent? Do you have enough staff? Do you have systems in place to pick up issues on the plant? Do you have maintenance plans? Do you have enough budget? How's your losses? They look at a whole range of stuff in both of these sort of certification. And Bitou, last Friday, the minister then issued green drop status. We call the people that received the certification as green drop champions. Now, Bitou was in the past, had achieved green drop status or certification, but they have stopped the program since, I think, 2011, when we also last got green drop. They've stopped it for a while, improved it, brought in more criteria, and this was the first year now after that long period, 10 years, I think, that they have issued again. So Bitou emerged, is one of the 850 plants or systems was evaluated, and 23 certificates was given. So it's 23 out of 850 in the country. That's a national award. Bitou was the only municipality that received green drop for both its works. So it's the Gansevallei and Koerland, and also on top of that, Bitou received the best water service authority in the space, in the sanitation space in the country. It's a mammoth, achievement for Bitou as a municipality. And yesterday, when I spoke to MIG that gave us the infrastructure grant, they were very chuffed, because I brought them. I also recognized them in the award because they upgrade their plants from time to time, and they were very chuffed with that. So it's, like I said, it's a major achievement. Witzenberg took all the honors. Witzenberg down in the Boland. So we came second to them in terms of best operator or best works.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter.
Thank you, Mr.
Well done.
Thank you, and congratulations. Thank you very much.
So it keeps Bitou right up top there on the water and sanitation side, and shows that we're doing everything that is necessary and actually exceeding what we should be doing to provide good, clean water and sanitation to the public. So thank you very much. Then also, one of the items that we're going to be serving today is the approval of the draft budget for 2022-2023. As Executive Mayor, it's my responsibility to give oversight to the budget, and it was because of concerns around the budget that it was referred back at our council meeting on the 31st of March. This budget's now been reworked and it's presented today in a more acceptable form. So I encourage councillors to give due consideration to the approval of the draft budget for 2022 and 2023, and then to then go out for public participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. We're going to continue to point 7, which is the presentations of, we have no presentations. Point 8, the items for information, which has been dealt with by the Executive Mayor in terms of his delegated authority. We have none. Point 9, noting of outstanding and partially implemented council resolutions. We have none, which take us to the non-delegated matters. Point 10, portfolio of index. Can I just mention that we will do the portfolio in the following order. We will do the office of the municipal manager, and then we will do engineering, and then we will do finance. Thank you. First, starting off with item 1.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to all councillors and officials present and public. Thanks for the opportunity of being appointed as a municipal manager of the institution. I don't take it lightly. I hope and I'm confident that I'll make a valuable contribution in the institution. The first item that it's in front of council deals with the approval of the macro organizational structure of the municipality. It is my understanding that there were workshops that were held with all role players and councillors, and stated also in the item in terms of the state of those workshops. The Act provides that the municipal council must review the municipal organizational structure under certain circumstances, and one of those is after the elections. So there was an election last year, November, and council needs to review the macro organizational structure, which is delegated at the level of council to approve that macro-organizational structure. The responsibility of approving the micro-organizational structure, which is all levels below the directors, is the responsibility of the accounting officer, which must do in consultation with council. So the item today is for council to consider approval of the macro-organizational structure. On the item, it is proposed that we keep the current directorate. If you can just quickly go to the org structure, the picture that is there. As it is the Office of the Municipal Manager, the Director Corporate Services, Director Financial Services, Director Community Services, Director Planning and Development, as well as the Director Technical that is vacant. So the item is to actually get the council to adopt and approve the structure so that administration can start with the process of preparing a microstructure that is aligned with the IDP and the objectives of the municipality in line with this organizational structure. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, thank you. Can we then just with that explanation, we will now be opening the item. Item C, stroke 1, stroke 42, stroke 04, stroke 22, as stated, the review of the macro organizational structure of Bitou Municipality. Item now serving.
Speaker.
Councillor Nel.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the proposal and that we keep the current macro-organizational structure in place as is.
There's a proposal by Councillor Nel. I see the hand of Councillor Kolwapi.
Thank you, Speaker. What I wanted to know, what is this separate from the organogram of the entire municipality? Because the last time we were here with the policies, and there was even a question that the organogram, we're going to do it later on. So my question is, as we're taking this separately, why we take this separately from the entire organogram of the municipality? And I believe that we've been doing like this all these past years. I see what the whole brief is all about, but can I be briefed why we separate the macro from the micro, whereas we were here waiting for the entire organogram then? That is all. I'm not against the recommendations.
You are fully, it's Councillor Kolwapi. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Speaker. Councillor Kolwapi, in terms of the legislation, council, it is council's responsibility to approve the macro structure that is at directorate level. So council can decide to say, based on the needs and the growth of the town, we have to keep a 5 directorate or a 6 directorate or 7 directorate or even a 3 directorate. So that is a responsibility of council. Once council has adopted that at macro level, administration is then supposed to go back as mandated by council in terms of resolution 2 to work on the micro organizational structure, which must fit in terms of this, but that must take into account the issue of affordability. Then it must also take the issue of alignment with the IDP. So that is still going to go to council. But in terms of the legislation, that structure process is a prerogative of the accounting officer in consultation with council. So I'm still going to bring it to council. The resolution says by May. I indicated May because I still have to be briefed in terms of the consultation that has happened. If we finish earlier, we can bring it by end of April. So if any, that have applied for this position. Hence, this item is brought in front of the council to review those time frame and re-advertise the position. Fair contract. So this one says that if people are open to apply, because sometimes people are not willing to relocate for a 5-year term, and then they have to relocate with family and kids, and then they have to finish within a 5-year, and then it's unstable for them. So this gives an opportunity to actually allow a negotiable contract, which I will have to bring to council to actually approve before the person is actually appointed. So it could be one of the reasons that people are not attracted on this 5-year contract. Hence, we are trying to say that it's a negotiable contract. I must state to council that in terms of the legislation, directors can be appointed permanently. Directors can be appointed on a 5th-term contract determined by council. It's only the municipal manager that is appointed on a fixed-term contract of 5 years with 1 year not exceeding the election. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, MM. The item is Councillor Nyal, I see your hand.
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation, in particular with the amendment of point 3, that we accept that we can have a negotiable time frame. Hopefully that will help us to get at last an engineering services voice person.
The item is proposed by Councillor Nyal, then Councillor Kolwapi.
Thank you, Speaker. It was exactly my concern here that the council has been trying to recruit. And up to this far, I was also having my question, what is it? What is it about the requirements that we place that makes people not to be attracted to this? Or was it because of the salary package? But I understand whatever salaries, we always do it in line with our MMFA. So I was having this question that how should we attract the people with this expertise? So maybe this thing of the term, it could be one of them. Because whenever you even inquire people that I know, did you see this position? But every time people will say, Ahman, you know, the existence and whatever. So what I want to know, when we say we open a person to discuss, up to how many years are we prepared for that? What kind of tone are we setting with the other position of Section 56 that we are having? Because this is a director position. What are we opening a can of worms with other, maybe with the other people that are here? And what are we setting to say, what other requirements can we build in when it comes to a secondary layer? Because I understand maybe somebody might appeal for 10 years, as we can see other municipalities are doing. But how are we going to ensure for future endeavors of the younger people that can occupy this thing? I know expertise maybe are too much. So I'm also with the view that can we be guided maybe how far the years we're talking about when we say people must negotiate? Because we are just opening ourselves from a blank check when we say in negotiation of terms. Can we be guided for how long at least? If somebody say for 15 to 20 years, are we prepared to be in that predicament? If somebody say 10 years, are we prepared for that? If somebody say for 7 years. So we need also to be open-minded that that same term, it opens for a blanket that anyone can abuse that term. So can we be guided even in that?
Amen.
Thank you, Councillor Kolapi. The resolution is deliberately written so that it can then bring about that debate. It is the prerogative of council to determine that term. I didn't want to fix the term so that it actually gives an opportunity for council to raise exactly what you are raising. The principal issue is correct. We're finding it difficult to attract people because the 5-year period could be one of the main reasons. So council can determine in this resolution and say you are prepared in terms of 10 years or whatever. Generally in the Western Cape, it's 10 years. There's very few municipalities that the directors are permanent. I think George recently moved to permanency. If you see their adverts, it says up until the age of 65. So it's actually permanent directors up until the age of 65. This is the political guidance that you have to provide to the administration when you advertise the position. Just on the issue of before, if you want my advice, I can give how long. Just on the issue of second layer coming in, Councillor Kolapi, you won't find them. You won't find them because of the upper limits. All junior staff, lesser than the directors, in the near future would not be applying for that position. Because one, they are leaving a permanent position that they are earning more than the director. They would not leave that permanent position for a contract position and take a salary cut. There's a predicament that we are having in local government, which is there is some discussion with both the provincial and national COCTA. It came about as a result of the upper limit. You would not find any of the managers at engineering applying for this position. It's similar to finance. You would not find any manager at finance applying because at that level they are already on salary that is higher than the upper limits.
Thank you. The item is still open.
Second, Speaker.
Thank you. Sorry, just before we need to determine for how many years we. Councillor Kamkam?
Sorry, Speaker, I had my hand up. I think the MM made it very clear that when there's negotiations, that item will come back to council for council to set or agree to the fixed term negotiable contract. That's the reason why there's not a fixed term in there. It says to be advertised as a fixed term negotiable contract. So once the appointment, we go through the processes and the negotiations start, remember, then after that, normally it comes back to council for council to then approve or make that decision. So I think it's a premature discussion. I think we need to wait for that time. It's just my understanding. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Kamkam. Ma'am, we continue?
Chair, we can continue. It's fine like that. As I said, I'll bring the item. If council wanted to fix the term now or wait for that report, is still, because at this moment in time, both myself and the director cooperatives cannot determine whether the person will be prepared for a 5-year. We might get person prepared for 5 years. We might get the person prepared, but on our side, we would look at it in terms of the norm as well and advise council to say the norm in the province is probably 10 years, and not negotiate something that is probably more than that and advise council on something that is more than that, because we have to take into account that the planning for this department is usually a period longer for infrastructure, so we will bring the full report to council.
Thanks. That we have closed the item. So we will then look into this and determine for how many years, so what in the case that's been explained. So thank you. Amen.
Just director cooperative is maybe in terms of the regulation you have to guide. It might be a technicality issue that maybe we don't specify the term now in terms of the advert. It might be a technical issue. I don't want to adjourn quickly. If you can just check quickly on the regulation. It might be a technical issue in terms of the regulation that we have to specify the term. So maybe let's consider specifying the term upfront now and say negotiable. If we say negotiable up to 10 years, we specify it now.
Let's hold on just. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I think we should go.
Just sorry, Councillor Kamkam. We have the Executive Mayor on the floor.
I think we should go with the suggestion of the municipal manager that we do a maximum 10-year term and allow them to, during the process, to negotiate a lower term if the candidate is wanting a lower term. So I think we set the maximum at 10 years, and then when it comes back to council for approval, the term will be set in that.
Maximum, thanks.
Then, Chair, the recommendation should read that the position of director engineers be declared vacant and be advertised for a minimum of 10 years, negotiable. If you
Maximum
say maximum,
10 years.
no, if you say maximum, then you cannot negotiate above the maximum. So if you want to negotiate above 10 years, it should say a minimum of 10 years negotiable. Because if you're saying maximum 10 years, then you cannot negotiate above the maximum.
Sorry, Councillor Neil?
Speaker, I would like to amend my recommendation to coincide with the explanation that the MM is now given, so that we do advertise for a maximum of 10 years.
That's not what No, the Speaker must get guidance. The councillor proposal is a councillor proposal. It's correct. The maximum of 10 years. So it means that it's a fixed 10-year contract. So there's nothing wrong.
Maximum, please.
So the maximum, it means that it's a fixed 10-year. After 10 years, the position must be advertised. So that's a maximum. So it should read the maximum of 10 years.
Okay, thank you. We will be, have we noted that?
The change will read as follows. After and be advertised for a maximum term, fixed term negotiable contract for up to I'm going to take out that first maximum. For a fixed term negotiable contract for a maximum period up to 10 years.
So it could be lesser, but it must not exceed 10 years. Okay.
Thank you. We'll be moving on. As we've arranged, we will now do section 5, the engineering service, which we have in addendum 1. It is, item C, stroke 5, stroke 18, stroke 04, stroke 22. The Municipal Infrastructure Projects, MIC, and the revision of Detailed Project Implementation Plan, DPIP. The item is now serving. Councillor Olivier?
I go with this recommendation, Speaker. I go with the recommendation by the Municipal Manager, Speaker.
There's a proposal that we go with the recommendation by Councillor Olivier. Councillor Ndai?
I second it, Speaker.
Proposed and seconded. MM?
Thanks. Chair, through you, a quick one. I won't spend too much time. The item is about the performance of the municipality in doing well on MIG project to such an extent that all municipalities who have not performed well, the money has been taken away from them and we are receiving additional 9 million. So that million, we need to bring it in. So it means there will be an adjustment budget that will be called urgent, a special council meeting, because the department needs to start spending on that money now, otherwise it's going to be taken away. So the item is about that. So we need to get council to actually amend the DPP. The DPP is the project plan for spending that 9 million. So it tells you on which project is going to be spent on. So it's a grant funding that we have received last week, Tuesday. Thank you.
Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, thank you for the clarity. But sorry.
Can we, Councillor Kolwapi? We have Councillor Mhlana on the floor.
On page 1, there are projects that are listed. I just want to find out whether, because it says there, the funding will be allocated to the projects as follows.
Thanks, Chair. Through you, Chair.
Okay, Mr. Imam.
In terms of the DP, there were projects that were approved already by MIG. This 9 million is not to register a new project. The new project will start in the new financial year. So MIG is saying to us, we've got 9 million that is unspent somewhere. Do you have projects which you can implement faster this year, you can spend. So this money is meant to be spent on the projects that were already existing, but to accelerate those projects to be completed this year. Because if we didn't have this money, Mike, then it meant that we would have waited. If the contractor finishes, for example, in May, we'll say the contractor go out of site and come back in August when our new budget is approved. So now it allows a seamless process as the contractor does not have to go out on site, just continue this year and in the new financial year, because there's another allocation that is in the new financial year. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Nel?
Speaker, just for record purposes, if I recall correctly, we did not read the item number into the record. I think we forgot to do that. Did she? Well, then
I did read
my
it.
apologies. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Mhlana, is it clear?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Thank you, thank you. Councillors, it was then seconded by Councillor Ndai. Council, can I propose that we, for this next item, adjourn for a period of 45 minutes and then reconvene again? I would ask councillors to remain through the adjournment, please, as we will be detailing, and then we will come back. We will adjourn now for, let's say, of a maximum of 45 minutes, and then reconvene again. Thank you very much. We're gonna come back now, no? Depends on the, can we be? All junior officials, my best left hands and my right hands, can you please excuse us for this session?
No, it's fine now. I just want to present those things now.
Definitely have to move the part.
Okay. Oh, okay, that's fine.
Do you want to, on all the screens, or can we just
is made. This question and answer session is made to answer the most asked questions about the water services, with the hopes that it will help the public with all necessary information. Please give a brief description about water services section.
Bitou Municipality Water Services consists of the abstraction and treatment or purification of water, as well as the collection, management and treatment of wastewater or sewage. This is done via 6 treatment plants that we have and some 617 kilometers of pipeline, including our bulk distribution lines. We do operate 2 of our boreholes, but we have a sizable number of boreholes as well. We have a staff complement of about 80 people, including our casual or expanded public works program staff. And we are divided into a purification and a reticulation team. The purification team work on a 4-hour shift system, and they run our 6 treatment plants, of which 4 are water treatment plants, and we have 2 wastewater sewage treatment plants. Our reticulation team are charged with the management of our sewage blockages in our sewage system, as well as our water reticulation system.
That's it.
What is the process in dealing with water leaks, low water pressure, and who deals with such?
The process to deal with water leaks, low water pressure and the like is actually, it falls under the reticulation team to deal with that. So the process is you've got to call or log a call at our customer care center. They will then give you a reference number via conventional short text messaging or SMS, and a team should respond on that particular day to the site. And our service delivery standard is that you've got to fix that sort of a problem within a 6 to 8 hour period.
What are things that the water services deal with in communities?
So typically the water services team deals with a variety of inquiries from the communities. On the purification side, there may be questions around water color or
Quality of water mainly.
and the smell of chlorine in water, that sort of thing. And the reticulation team would deal with sewage blockages or water pipe breaks or leaks or low pressures.
How long does it take to resolve or respond to a sewage-related issue, and who deals with such issues?
Sewage issues are dealt with by the sewage reticulation team, and that's a subset of our reticulation team. The timeline to complete a sewage issue is typically 1 to 2 hours, depending on the workload. But it really is dependent on what is the cause of a sewage issue. Sometimes it could be that the pipeline in the ground is broken, and that would cause your manholes to back up. Or the manhole might have an ingress of foreign objects, and we're finding that there's quite a lot of that happening at this point, where foreign objects are actually being thrown into our manholes, and that tends to cause a build-up of the sewage. It doesn't flow past the manhole, and that then results in a blockage.
What are times where the water services employees are available to assist the community? Is there a 24-hour standby ready to assist?
The water services team operates slightly differently in the 2 sections, or quite differently actually. The purification team, that's a 24-hour operation. We're constantly purifying water, we're constantly purifying or treating our wastewater. The reticulation team typically work your normal day shift, which is from 7:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. And then beyond 4:30, they have what's called a standby, and they work overtime. We do try to limit that, but things like sewage blockages and so on, that would have to be dealt with regardless of the time of day, because there's the element of pollution that's always involved.
question and answer session. This question and answer session is made to answer the most asked questions about the water services, with the hopes that it will help the public with all necessary information. Take us through the process of purifying water and what is the cause of brown water.
Okay, the purification process of water is as follows. We're getting water from the river, like I'm going to make an example of Plettenberg Bay water treatment plant. The type of chemicals that we use at the inlet works are aluminium sulfate and lime. And then from there the water are being mixed, then it goes through the mixing channels, and then from there to the settling dams, where all the dirt and mud and stuff are settling down into the settling dams. From there it goes to the filters. At the filters we remove all the impurities, stuff that floats in the water. It settles on the sand, and then the clean water goes down through the filters. From there it goes to the another mixing channels where we dose chlorine to disinfect the water, and we also stabilize the water. Stabilizing meaning that the water mustn't be corrosive when it gets to the communities. At that the other point after that is where we pump the water to the service reservoirs that are located in each area, as I mentioned, in Plettenberg Bay, and from there the water goes to the community's houses. We must just then remember that from all houses there's sewage lines that goes down to our main wastewater treatment plant that is located next to the N2 at Old Nick. It's called Gansenvallei Wastewater Treatment Plant, and that is a 9 megaliters a day wastewater treatment plant where we purify the water so that it can adhere to the SANS 241 standards is set out by Department of Water Affairs. The main reason for the color in the raw water in our area is we've got a lot of fynbos growing in this area, and you see different parts of South Africa, there's different vegetation that grows next to the rivers. So here there's a lot of humic acids in the leaves as it falls into the water, and that causes the color. It's like a tea bag effect that it gives off into the water. So our main issue here is just to get the color out of the water. Luckily for us, there's no industries along the river that can pollute the river.
outline.